Building a house is not a magic. That's why they say Rome was not built in a day. In our last series of video, we talked about 20 different steps that you follow in building your house. In our today's video, we'll be discussing the timeline to achieve this process. Before we go into this timeline, we need to consider factors that might likely affect this timeline. Number one, funding, which is very critical in every project. Funding dictates the tone and the pace at which the project will go. If project is poorly funded, it will lead to a lot of delays. At the long run, it might possibly even lead to the abandonment of the project. Another factor which is also critical is shortage of labor. We understand that in our recent situation in our country, we are facing shortage of labor because a lot of youth are not ready to engage in hard labor. This affects availability of labor in the construction site. The third factor to consider is also shortage of material. This aspect, you agree, is also very critical. Lack of access to maybe the quarry to get the aggregate, to get sand, to get cement. Most of the time, we experience scarcity in getting cement. All of these factors affect the project duration. Another critical factor is government legislatures, enforcement, and issues on the land. If you're having a site that every now and then government enforcement agency, maybe town planner, LASPA, LAPCA come to your site to obstruct your progress of work due to one issues or the other relating to legislature, that will also affect the project. If you're having issues with the landowner, popularly called the Omonile, or you're having the entire area is having an issue, concerning Omonile issues, that incessant coming to site to disturb progress of work, demanding for money, that will also affect the project. Another critical factor is rain. Rain. We know rain comes often these days, and this will lead to some possible delay in the project. Another critical factor that can also affect the project is a lack of access to the site. If the site is located in a place that is a bit difficult for people to quickly access, for materials, maybe truck hauling material to site to quickly access, that will affect the project. So all of these factors, if not carefully managed, will affect the progress of the site. Now let's dive into the discussions for today, which is a realistic timeline without sugarcoating for the project. For site preparations and setting out, these activities are clearing of the site, leveling, setting out. Depending on the nature of the site, this usually take 3 to 7 days. The next thing we are going to consider is excavations. This is where we do our trenchings, excavating for trenches. Also, where we do our concrete in foundations, we do our block work, we do our fillings. That takes about 3 weeks. Then the next activity to also consider is our ground floor slab to our DPC, popularly called the German floor. This activity usually takes about 1 week. Next thing for us to do after completing our German floor, that ends the substructure works. Now we are moving to the upper structure, raising our walls, and possible, if columns are also there, raising our columns. All to the lintel level, that will take about 2 to 3 weeks for us to do our block work. For our lintel and raising our wall from the lintel level, to the roof level. That takes 1 week for us to do. Next thing is our roof. Our roof, which is we are going to be doing our carcass, either we're using steel or we are using wood, whichever one we are using. Also our covering. That usually takes about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the size of the site, availability of materials, availability of labors to do the work. Next thing we are going to be doing is our plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, piping. That takes about 1 week for us to do. And the next thing we are also going to be going into is our plastering. Then we are starting our finishing. For our plastering works, that takes about 2 to 4 weeks for us to do, depending on also those factors in terms of materials, labors, and also fundings. After our plastering, we are now going to be doing the window work, the doors, the fittings and fixtures. That will take about 3 weeks. Then the last but not the least is our external works, which takes about 2 to 3 weeks for us to do. That is the circle of the project. For a bungalow, if well funded, usually takes about 4 months to 6 months. In some cases, it can actually be lesser than this if the project is being funded effectively and efficiently. While in duplex, it takes about 6 to 9 weeks, depending on the complexity of the project and also taking controls of those factors that we've earlier mentioned in terms of funding, availability of materials, labors, access to the site. If we're able to put all of those factors under control, we'll be able to achieve these processes in a shorter period compared to the envisaged time. This work program is usually represented in what we call a work program, which is also part of the contract. It will be showing in line by line activities preceding each other in a manner that is well understood by anyone. I hope you learned something today. I'm Ajun Bolamayewa. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.